Yo, I used every single plague weapon. Anyways, here's some tips. The Handaxe is one of the first plague weapons you get early on. With strength investment, it breaks enemy super armor and makes it a great combo extender. You can also throw it. The Dagger is another plague weapon that you get early on. It allows you to commit knife crimes to do high wound damage very quickly. The extended action allows you to shank somebody extremely quickly right after parry. Good for doing wounds with the parry playstyle. The Halberd would probably be the first plague weapon you'll max out simply due to the sheer amount of goons they have wielding the spear throughout the game. It does high white damage and can stack the offensive buff. The extended action is great for interrupting the enemy's attacks. Shield is a defensive plague weapon that you'll have early access to. It's a long parry that allows you to counter attack without taking damage. The extended action allows you to knock them down with this counter attack. These guys are everywhere early game, so you'll definitely get your use out of it. The bow is a ranged plague weapon that gives you a true damage source from distance. It interrupts critical attacks like the feather and allows you to do some Legolas stuff, shooting twice when you have the extended action. Its cooldown is also super low, so you can really spam it. Scythe is the Edgelord Supreme plague weapon that restores health on hit, making a good option for sustainability. It staggers pretty well, and its extended action gives you 2 swings, which gives you 2 heals at the cost of stopping power. The hammer is a big boy bonking stick plague weapon. It's got a huge windup, but does big white damage, has super armor, and high stagger potential. Very good for vitality builds. Its extended action gives you some room clearing potential. Bloodblade is a plague weapon buff that gives your saber a flat attack bonus at the cost of health. Once you have the extended action, you can spend your buff to do a strong attack that deals high white damage and removes the buff from your sword. You can stack it up by hitting the enemy. High plague stat doubles the amount of stacks you get every time you hit with your sword. The Twin Swords plague weapon carried me through this game. With plague and strength investment, it shreds enemies with the full combo, doing both white damage and green damage at the same time. The extended action gives you an evasive maneuver that can save your hide or extend the combo. This thing seriously shreds bosses. Fist is for the bonky boys who like to be up close and personal. It does a shockwave that knocks down enemies in a wide radius. The extended action gives you an aerial option for more bonkage. The Whip plague weapon allows you to embody Indiana Jones and has a huge range. Hitting with just the tip allows you to jump towards the enemy, unlocking your powerful air attacks without needing a critical art. The extended action pulls enemies in instead, but you don't want that. The Katar is a Voldo looking plague weapon that applies bleed stacks and then nopes out of there, which keeps you safe from enemy retaliation. The bleed stack keeps enemies from regenerating, which allows you to keep up the pressure. The extended action launches you airborne instead for those sweet bird of prey combos. The Flying Daggers plague weapons turns your feather from a stationary throw to some mobile Naruto stuff, throwing a dagger and dodging at the same time. These new Flying Daggers can still interrupt critical arts and does bonus damage if it succeeds. Iframing attacks will stack up the amount of feathers you have for more pressure. The extended action rapidly delivers knife crimes from a distance. It wouldn't be as Souls-like without some sort of busted claymore. The Greatsword has high damage and straight up knocks the enemy airborne, but has a very slow startup. The extended action is just faster busted claymore swings. This was also a go-to in my playthrough. The first of the boss plague weapons is Miasma. This thing is essentially the old hunter's bone from Bloodborne. The extended action gives you a buff that you can stack with iframe dodges that you can spend for some Pimp Cane Iaijutsu that does high damage with a long range. The Fool's Punch boss plague weapon turns your Reeve into a right hook. This allows your Reeve to do actual damage, and the extended action allows you to follow up like Floyd Mayweather. Mutated Tentacles might be the most busted plague weapon in this game. With 20 plague and a little bit of gumption, you can spam this attack for an entire boss's health bar. Pair that with the Blood Shield plague weapon that gives you a huge health shield, and now you're cooking. The extended action is what allows you to combo, so you'll need that first. Bloodstorm is a plague weapon that allows you to heal at the cost of energy. The extended action gives you a roar that does damage, knocks enemies back, and gives you some offensive buff. The Vile Blood Shield is a low-key OP plague weapon that simply gives you a shield and super armor at the cost of health and energy. Pair this with a high damage plague weapon like Mutated Tentacles or Twin Swords for some absolutely bonkers damage that is hard to interrupt. The extended action gives you defensive buff and the revitalizing buff when the shield breaks. This helps keep you alive when you're going full ham on the enemy. No dark fantasy world is complete without an impossibly big sword. The Giant Sword is a boss plague weapon that does a ton of damage. It's high stagger, but is super slow. The extended action is full berserk mode, just crushes enemies, does a ton of damage. The Javelin Sword is when you want to fence from a distance to avoid knife crimes of your own. It's a plague weapon that throws javelin-like swords that detonate after a short amount of time once they hit the enemy. The plague weapon animation also dodges you backwards, so it's a good combo ender that can get rid of that green health after you're done with your pressure. The extended action gives you that boss's particular signature move when used in the air for even bigger explosions. Yo, there it is. That's all of them. If any of these helped you out, leave a comment, a like, subscribe, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Thirst out.